Hi, I must be one of those odd women. I didn't need a man to find you, and I love all your books. So thank you.
Could you give a workshop to an after? No, I'm kidding.
No. And I do appreciate especially One Taste because seeing more of your human side and your authenticity, and that comes through all your books.
Thank you.
My question is going to sound a little diffuse.
Okay.
Because that's where it sits in me, between the mind and the heart.
Okay.
And it's what I have be an intersection between surrender, grace, inner knowingness, and stepping into one's own direction. And as you spoke in answer to Beth's question, of course, in my mind, you had a choice whether to stay in the 3-year agony period of the writing, the SES. To me, that speaks of that. Can you elaborate on those elements?
Yeah, I want to make sure I get the, because it is diffuse. You're talking about when I stayed in that 3-year period, and it was sort of a choice I had to make to stay in it. And then how does that fit with grace and surrender?
Yes.
How in my own case?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that's a great question. It's a great question because it's a dilemma that every human being faces, and nowhere more so than on a spiritual path. And even the traditions even have a name for these things. It's a extraordinary battle in Christianity between faith and good works. In other words, choice or surrender. How do you get realization? So it's not just the East or the West. I mean, Martin Luther was that whole Reformation started with him trying to do that, and it was by faith. So, do you know he was sitting on the toilet when he had that realization? I swear I shouldn't bring that up because but it's true. And I thought, boy, what a place to grapple with, letting go and forcing. But okay, I shouldn't have. But that's true. But it's much more serious. In Japanese Buddhism, there's a whole extraordinary debate again between what's called self-power and other power. And self-power is epitomized by Zen, and other power is particularly Nam-myoho Renge Kyo and any of the chanting to the names of the Buddha or the Lotus Sutra. And then as you chant, though, it's by grace, it's by surrender that it happens. So it's other power that you're saved. My own belief, my own experience is that they really are intertwined, and that it's both. There are times when you work as hard as you can, and then you just sort of really surrender and let go. And even surrendering is an active choice that you have to hold. But it has a way that when you are actively working at one point, which I think is really great, because I think it's how you consolidate your consciousness. It's sort of like, I'm going to dig in at a base camp here, and I'm really, But then at some point when you get that, there's this greater other. And you have to kind of let go into that. And even Zen has a whole let go. And when you do that, then it's grace that comes down. And then when you really surrender into that grace and feel that otherness and really feel into it, it's your own big bond. See what I mean? So it's almost like a ladder of self-power and then other power, and then self-power and then other power, and self-power, until self and other then that rarefy, but they don't have any meaning at that point then. Technically the subject-object boundary is dissolved, but that's a very abstract way of saying that there's just this absolute recognition of what you are, like with big mind. But we were talking earlier about that faint little separation that can remain, which is that you're always a unique perspective on the world, even when you're one with self. And it's the same thing. You'll always have a point where you have to surrender. And I don't think it ever goes away. And I believe it was Haikuan, the great, great Zen master, was known for having a bruise on his forehead for bowing down to surrender. I don't think it ever goes away. So I think it's just like that. I think there's that absolute oneness that you know you are, but then you look out like this. And the extraordinary thing is that it's that same self looking back at you through somebody else's eyes. And that's exquisite.